Hello, everyone. Welcome to our edition of the Ohio Guys here. My name is Christian Ocampo, and today I'm joined by another special guest here today. We have good old Shawn Gann. How do you, Shawn?
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Hi, Christian.
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for making the time for this interview. I know been very busy with tons of nonstop work coming your way, especially as the season keeps changing with new simul dubs, new shows that just keep getting cranked out at the Funimation factory. So
Yeah.
yeah, so glad to have you here. Yeah, so to kind of get us started, why don't you tell us what is it like working in the industry today?
Um, well, it's like any other industry in the arts field, as far as I'm concerned. I work in a collaborative environment all the time. My background is classical theater. That's what I went to college for. It's what I spent a lot of my 20s doing, was touring and producing and acting in theatrical productions. And that requires a team of people to put something together. And as far as the VO industry is concerned, especially on the directing side of it, you're talking about bringing in a team of people, my engineer, the producers behind us, the work and script and the writers, and then of course the talent, the voiceover artists that show up, that lend their voices to all the shows that that everyone likes and that everyone keeps demanding and keeps showing up for. And you have to be able to deal with egos, and you have to deal with people and their artistic sensibilities. You have to deal with sensitive subjects, and you have to be able to navigate and move those people and all those pieces in the right direction. So as far as the industry is concerned, it to me is about networking and collaborating and kind of team building experiences, per se, and trying to put on the best piece of work that you can, because everybody's out there trying to make the best art that they want to be able to make.
Right on. Yeah, as you just touch upon with trying to work with a team, trying to work with people, especially that you help with assisting behind the booth. And you've been on a huge role on that this past year and a bit from last year too, just being that being behind the helm in the booth, directing with so many different actors and both veterans and newbies to the
Hmm.
field. So you've had quite a busy time in the studio.
Yes.
So
And
yeah,
all those people are great. And the veterans and newbies, I put the newbies in quotes because a lot of the newbies have been acting for a long time themselves, and maybe just not gotten the opportunity within the voiceover industry or the anime industry. Some of them have been voiceover actors for a long time before that.
yeah, good good points. Those that have brushed up their skills in acting, whether in school or in their community theater, wherever they've been, just trying to adapt and work into voiceover work behind the microphone in a small little booth. New experience for them and new experience having a assistant director like you kind of help them out, find their voice and find the right pacing when recording for these anime projects.
Right.
So to carry us on in this interview, why don't you tell us what is your favorite project you have worked on?
Oh, my favorite? Well, as far as anime and voiceover is concerned, my favorite project that I've worked on that I continue to have a lot of love for and can you continue to have lots of hopes for is Radiant. It's a French mantra that was adopted by Japan, the first one like it. Very wide, sprawling fantasy adventure type shonen. Uh, the demographics that it covers and how it mirrors regular life and the problems that we experience, and kind of just how deep it is. That's been and is still the most exciting project for me. We've gotten through 2 seasons of it, And Tony Valent, who does all the artwork and does the manga, has been producing more and more art lately. And of course, with the pandemic and limitations on studios and stuff, a lot of that's been delayed. But I feel like it's rolling forward, and the possibility of a third season is upon us. And I can't wait to get back to it.
Yeah, I'm glad I mentioned that one, especially that we'll get more into detail later. I'm just surprised. One of the shows that I saw upon last year, just seeing how many episodes there are per season, I was kind of like overwhelmed, like, wow, like what, 50 plus episodes or so. So that's that's just a shonen way to go when it comes to the genre with all this action.
High hopes for it. Yeah, lots of activity. The world building is huge. The representation in it is amazing, and it only gets more sprawling and more expansive as the manga goes on.
Yeah, it's just amazing how it just keeps going, how it just demands just more and more material, just more chapters, and just more on what's going to happen next. What are these characters going to do next? So it's always just exciting to see how a show like this can keep getting so many episodes, which some other shows could get some more episodes, but sometimes the cards are not always there.
Right, you're right. A lot of anime, even the standard ones, like around about 13, 14 episodes a lot of the times. And it was really something to be a part of that was sitting at about, 24 to 26 episodes a season. So it's really a lot of work, and a lot of hopes are put into that particular anime. And we hope that it catches on.
Yeah, right on. All right. Now to roll us into some of your work. Why don't you tell about this one in particular? What was it like working on Nichijou, My Ordinary Life?
Teacher in it, but he's a crazy character. He's super intense, super high strung, very much in love with another teacher, but can't really express it. A lot of the students kind of torment him about that and tease him about it. Jade Saxton was the director on that. I thought she did a wonderful job. Kristen McGuire was one of my opposites in there, and I really love kind of reflecting on that show with her. I think it's hilarious, and it was one of those anime that a lot of people thought couldn't be adapted because there's so much of Japan's humor in there that doesn't maybe translate into America's humor. But when they did it, visually, it was a lot of fun. I love the principal wrestling with the deer. I love like the real kind of like out of reality moments that happen when people really get fired up and like start moving in like either fast or slow motion. I love that the stakes are so high in Nichijou, and it's like it's just so funny. It really is such a funny show. I was really happy that she asked me to be a part of it, and that has a special place in my heart. That's to me one of the funniest things I've ever done for anime. That's a very, very, very funny show.
This show is a meme in itself, or an amalgamation of memes put together.
Right.
You cannot go on YouTube, type in Nichijou without seeing so many funny edits, without so many funny clips just compiled together or highlighted. Especially, yes, the one with the deer. Me being a wrestling fan, I've seen clips of that where it has like the wrestling sound effects or
Oh, that's awesome.
yes, and then the referee 3 count, 1, 2, 3, ding ding ding. It's just this show is just, it's funny just because it's full of all these cute anime girls just doing funny, silly things that are over the top. And I think it makes it funny just the reactions and just those little moments where like it's just their faces, like it's the punchline, and what makes the show even more funnier. Just seeing how something happens end the way it ends.
Right, right. That was definitely one of those shows that, for me, I start up here and it just keeps going higher as far as like my reactions, as far as like how intense my voice is going, and just how much I'm laughing. I like every time we got in the booth, I just laughed and laughed and laughed. It was a great experience.
Yeah, it certainly is. And like you mentioned before, took a while for it to get dubbed because it did come out like around like the early 2010s. So no studio picked it up and it had that potential to get dubbed. And then it finally did get its English dub when it finally made its way here to the States. So I'm glad that it got its English dub, as we the fans always appreciate getting dubs whenever Japan finally gives the States a chance to finally dub something that, like you said, either jokes could not be translated fully, or maybe the humor is not there. But I think as time has gone on, we as American audience have actually either understood the jokes, or we may not have taken the jokes, but we understand the build-up, we understand
Right.
the punchline. So I think that in itself was enough to finally get Japan to greenlight the dub for Nichijou.
Well, it's good to hear.
Yeah, and I hope we can still get more shows like these, and hopefully Nichijou can get like another season or so, because the jokes are endless. There's so many more directions that this show can take with its wackiness.
Yeah, I would love another season. My character never got to, finish falling in love and following through on his crush, so it would be nice to see if they ever end up together.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's animes always leave us in these weird cliffhangers. We like to see, like, even if they're not the main characters, maybe the side ones, we like to see like where they go after these next few chapters.
Right.
All right. So here's another one that really is spectacular with its visuals, but has a very interesting story line to it. And we're going to talk about Hakata Tonkotsu Ramen. What was that on that
Oh,
one?
Tonkatsu ramens. Wow, that's going back. Yeah, it was directed by Jeremy Inman. He brought me into that. I play I think it's now Yanita. No, who's it? Now Yanita. But either way, he's an arms dealer. He grabs onto one of the characters and brings him into the world of the hitman, and like acts as his manager and provides him with weapons and tries to give him a new identity for how he is as a hitman. It's a really interesting, what you call a slice of life mobster type anime. And I came in towards the middle of it and was one of the main characters ongoing, but it was a surprise that happened, because you watch that series, like halfway through, what you thought were the main characters, all of them get like wiped out. Like a big Game of Thrones type of like change happens in the show, and then it becomes this next group of people that kind of carry it on. And yeah, to my benefit, obviously, so because it allowed me to come onto the show. But that was a really fun one too. Super kind of chill noir. Humor's a little subtle. The lead characters are interesting rivals, and they use baseball as a metaphor for the teams and stuff like that. So, yeah, I thought that was a very interesting product that we had. I really enjoyed that anime.
Same here. I just like I guess the gravitas on each of these characters, what they brought to the table. Everyone was different, but the concept was interesting. Just a city full of assassins where everyone was in the same business. So literally, this was like a cutthroat business, because you may be an assassin, but there might be an assassin right behind you with this knife drawn at your neck. So
Right.
there was a bit of that tension, that edginess where, like you said, you don't know who might get offed in a certain episode, and I really enjoyed like how deep, how more there's more risk to it. Like this was very dark underground. This was really like hard to find like who are the white hats because everyone's out for themselves,
Right.
and they would go to extra certain lengths. And in the first half, you see like one of the characters do a very, I don't even know if I can say this even in my own interview, but it's just very, very sexual, very, very gut wrenching.
Yeah, there's some very interesting sexual thematics that happen in that show too, and how they deal with identity and how people are kind of concealing their gender and identity and sexual proclivities to kind of also be part of their identity as a killer.
And that I appreciate. I appreciate an anime or any show of any medium that can at least take us, the audience, to that level of this really dark world, this really undertone of society that doesn't see what happens in the underbellies. So us the audience seeing this is like, wow, like it makes you uncomfortable at points,
right,
but you understand why the story is this, and then you understand like why these characters cannot be liked, why they are seen as despicable, why they are, the scum of the scum. So it really builds that extra element of that really dark human nature that can really grow, that can really fester when it's left unchecked.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good assessment.
Yeah, I just love how Hakata took this level of this grittiness and just how it was really able to work with all these assassins. And I just hope to come across more shows like this in the future that can really take us, the audience, into more of these underbellies, more of these darker sides of the human mind. So
it's a unique story, and they handle the structure really well. And I think that's what really salvages it, because you have just a huge number of characters in such a short, span of time as far as that season is concerned, and to keep it interesting and keeping it fresh and keeping the audience on their toes the entire time is a pretty good feat.
Indeed, just this show just really just hit so many check marks, and it just had me so invested. Like always kept me on my toes, always had me wondering like what's going to happen next, like who is going to be able to survive in this really dark underground world that a wrong move, pulling the wrong card can end your life. So a really good telling of a story and great way to navigate us through what these characters are trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, and overall trying to survive in this business that can really just end their lives at any moment.
I'm glad you really like that one. That is a very fun one.
Definitely. And then moving away from this really dark anime, and I want to be not one that's going to be more brighter, more joy than this one. Now we can talk about Radiant. So why don't you tell us about what was like working on that one?
Radiant is this bright, colorful, fantasy-driven, yet reality mirroring sort of world. The representation in it is amazing. Caitlin Glass was our director. Chris Ramirez stars, and Caitlin also was in it. And I play the character of Doc, and we're a little trio that travels from place to place looking for the land called Radiant, which is where the what we assume are the villains of the story are from play these nemesis, the nemesis. They fall from this place called Radian. They, when they touch people, they curse them and they become these sorcerers and wizards and stuff that are looked down upon. And even though they're the only ones that can eventually fight those things and protect people from them, yet they're still looked down upon. Really just expansive. It deals with a lot of real issues like immigration, racism, fear, warmongering, uh, the kind of twisted nature of politics and how people try to control one another. There's like a lot of religious aspects to it because you have an entire group of people who act as, they called the Inquisition. They act like the Inquisition of what's in life, like the Spanish Inquisition. They control content of what people should believe. They control what kind of people are blessed people, and it's just the reach of the story is so great, and the things that they cover are so intense. And there's love, and there's magic, and there's tragedy, and issues with history and family. It's just a really, really beautiful story. I think Tony Lent is a genius and a wonderful artist for creating it. I appreciate it. And we've had a couple of seasons of it, and just from a very literal standpoint, the representation in it is great too, because we've had myself being Filipino in it, Chris Ramirez is Hispanic, Ali Mims played Okaho, and she's Black and LGBTQ. It's just the opportunities that have been given for people to take on significant roles in that show, I think reflects a lot of what's happening now, with what we've been able to do with Horimiya, and what we've been able to do with ongoing shows like Apare Ranman and stuff, to get kind of these new voices in, and these voices that sound like the audience that watches it. You want to have somebody from your background representing you on that screen. And I think Radiant started it may not have been the first, but I think it was a very significant show in what it did for anime, as far as getting us that notion of bringing in the people to represent the voices that are on the screen.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that one. And may not have been the first anime, but maybe among the first wave of animes that did that. And as you mentioned, great actors such as yourself, Ali Mims, and of course, Chris Ramirez, two great actors I hope to interview sometime in the future. Chris Ramirez, I just want to mention him here. I have so much similarities with him. Me and him, we're both Latinos. I'm Mexican American myself, and we're also good wrestling fans. So,
oh yeah, he's a huge wrestling fan, massive.
Yeah, I'm hoping to test my knowledge with his knowledge. See.
His is pretty good. It's pretty good. I think if you get a chance to speak with him, he will not disappoint.
I might just do a wrestling podcast with him.
I bet he'd be excited about that too. I don't know if you're familiar with some of the theater work that he did, but he's worked with a group where he created a luchadora wrestling show, and that was really popular here in Dallas. It was a big success.
Yes, I have heard of that. He's, again, not just amazing voice actor, but also amazing on-stage theater actor, making his own work like that. He's got a great mind when it comes to the theatrics aspect for both on stage and for wrestling, which he has stated in the past that wrestling is its own form of theater, and it's important for wrestlers to portray what they bring to the table or to the ring. I'm going to go that far. So I can just compliment him nonstop in this interview, but I think he did great being a lead actor in this show. And it was great. It's always great to see fellow Latinos get the chance to be in animes and get to be, play the main characters. It's amazing just for me to say, well, a guy who's close to my age, a guy who's also Latino like me, getting this opportunity. I have so much utmost respect, and I hope that he can continue this path of his career and get into more amazing projects like this. And same thing with Ellie Mims. I hope to keep hearing her and tons more amazing animes, and again keep representing her African American background anywhere, whether it be on stage as well or behind the booth. So I'm always happy for anyone from any of the minorities, whether it be Latinos, African Americans, and such as yourself, you Asian American, can continue pumping up the great work and contributing all your knowledge of acting behind the booth.
Yeah, and another within Radiant, actually, strong Hispanic actor is Yvonne Hassell. And he was also the lead in Apareranman. And I had him in this current show I'm directing, How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. Yvonne's character in Radiant is a very popular character too. The ladies swoon. They swoon all the time for his character.
Yeah, I just love when animes can go this direction, especially a caliber like this that Rating is carrying, not just in its story, but like with its casting choice. So I tip my hat to all the work that was put into it, giving so many opportunities, because this was the anime that introduced me to both Chris Ramirez, to you, and also to Eddie Mims as well, and now to Yvonne as well. So yeah, just so much work, so much contribution put into this. Just hearing about now.
We're all trying.
Yeah, so hopefully other anime fans out there looking for a new show, especially want to support minorities or POC actors, definitely check out Radiant, hear Chris's performance, Ellie's performance, and of course both your performance and some of your directing work as well, both behind and in the booth.
Appreciate that, and of course I'm sure they all appreciate it as well. They're all doing their best and working every day, working as hard as possible.
Yeah, and I wish everyone all the best and hope to keep getting this type of casting and see what other great shows will come out there as we come close to the end of 2021, and see what 2022 we have in store for everyone that worked on Radiant.
Fingers crossed.
All right. And so now here's one that people recognize in the anime community. This title it's really hard for anyone to have missed this one. This one, a classic series that finally got a remake, and we're talking about Fruits Basket. Well, I was like working on that one.
Fruits Basket. What a beautiful show. Slice of life, kind of high school lovers sort of show that has all the kind of supernatural elements of the zodiac and the curse that is part of that. I played Yusuke in that show. One of the kids at school. It's a friend. It's me and Rico Fajardo's character are always paired together, and that's always cool. Rico being my other Filipino brother within the community. Fruits Basket is a really beautiful, poetic show. It's very it means a lot to a lot of people, especially those that had the original series or grew up on the manga. And I think it tells a very delicate story of retribution and overcoming things that are probably part of your DNA or fate, and kind of making a life for yourself and choosing your own fate and choosing your own destiny, and not allowing, the world around you and what's expected of you to kind of influence those decisions. I also like the redemption factor of it, like with Akito and her coming to terms with being a god and letting go of all the zodiacs and understanding what's right and um, leading a life and being good and kind of overcoming abuse. And Akito's a very difficult character to really, love and get to. But I think, like most of the characters in the show, and I think this with any character, including villains, you have to find something to love about them in order to tell an interesting story or create an interesting arc in that character. And yeah, I think Roots Basket does that just wonderfully. I cry when I watch it. I mean, I cry at everything, but I cry especially at Fruits Basket. Fruits Basket gets me, every other episode. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, this one really has pulled heartstrings over the years since its first original iteration. And it was definitely a huge surprise when it was announced around like 2018 that there was a remake of Fruits Basket, but was going to also include more chapters into it to kind of go more deep into the manga, which I'm pretty sure a lot of fans appreciate that, the direction
Right.
that was going to. And of course, more of an update to its beautiful, color, vibrant art style, because it was still nice in the 2000s during its first shots. And now this one looks even more gorgeous, more beautiful with its animation style. So also kind of great way to introduce us to the new chapters and a great way to get some new people in the show, which they're to bring the original cast members, Dora Bailey, Jerry Jewell, John Bergmeyer, and then you got a chance to be part of this classic title that people for over 20 years knew Fruits Baskets, and now you yourself gain the opportunity to be part of its 20-year run of
Oh yeah.
this.
Yeah. That meant a lot to be a part of it. First starting as an actor, doing roles in it, and then being able to, sit behind the table as an assistant director and help it in its final couple of seasons and kind of interacting with these performers. We call from the previous one to this one the legacy performers on this one, and then it's kind of seeing the new world of performers who had the chance to grow up on it as well, and now being involved in the project and seeing their excitement and feeling their love for the show as they go along, and also seeing the legacy performers surprised about coming back to do it again and getting to tell and complete these stories that were kind of left hanging in the previous version.
Oh, indeed. And and yes, people that have read the manga appreciate Fruit Basket as a whole. When you see it in its anime form, it it breathes extra life into it. Seeing the actors getting to read on these harder, heart-tugging moments that we didn't get to see in the 2000s version, and now seeing it here, you get to really feel what these characters are feeling in these chapters. Like my sister, who read the entire manga, she loved it. It's one of her top favorite mangas out there. And then knowing that they finally decided to make a remake, but a new iteration, adds that extra emotional touch, the extra emotional attachment to this series, because you know, if you read the manga, you really know what's coming, but it's
Right.
just not knowing how the actors were going to add that extra layer of those emotions. So I'm glad they decided to make a new one, which remakes in these past few years could be a little tricky, depending on the direction, the storytelling, the pacing. But I think this one really did great on trying to tie up the loose ends, trying to kind of give us back those cliffhangers or some of those extra chapters that
Yeah.
people didn't get to see back then. And now this is the perfect way for people to see how it all ends, how it all kind of wraps up together.
Yeah, I think it honors the source material very well. The animation style, though different, is beautiful, and I think anime has an element of fantasy as far as how they portray the people within it. But I feel like even with this version, as beautiful as it was, there was an element of reality to the characters and how they were drawn and kind of the way they moved and interacted. I thought there was some really kind of real worldly delivery to the lines. People were speaking the lines as if you would speak them to another person just on a regular basis. uh, I thought the music was fantastic. The music really drew you in. Those openings and closings are really great numbers, and the tracks within them are great. And yeah, it's just a really fun show. Really, really fun, really beautiful, and I think it's an important show to a lot of people.
Indeed, it is very important. A lot of people that grew up with it and now have become adults now have really got more of a fondness to it. Just seeing how much life has been breathed into this new iteration. So definitely, it's great that we finally get to have seen it after all these years now.
Yeah.
All right. So going from one emotional show to another, and this one really was special in so many ways, both its story, its characters, and of course its casting. We're gonna talk about Horimiya. What was like working on that
Oh,
one?
Horimiya. Gosh. Uh, Very similar to Fruits Basket, really, in the slice of life kind of high school aspect of it. This one, of course, stayed within the high school world, and there wasn't really any fantasy elements to it. It really was just kids interacting with each other and growing up and growing closer and figuring themselves out, especially the character of Miyamura. Horimiya, of course, also figuring out a lot of stuff about herself with him and their relationship and their love as it grows through the season. I think it's such a fun anime in that it represents a lot of what actually happens in high school. The awkwardness and the feelings and um, the heightened stakes. Everything is just so important in high school, and everything's just so important when you're a teenager. And I feel that each of these characters, in their own way, latched on to that. Whether it was how good they needed to be in school, whether they needed to be a good student council member, whether or not this person liked them or they loved this person, or they held some guilt for some act they committed against a person in the past, and now they're face to face with them again. um it's just a very well developed set of high school kids as far as portraying them as real people and people that you've met and people that you understand, that people you went to school with, maybe people that you loved, or maybe people that um you felt you know anger or angst towards, and how that home life balances with that, how you're different in school versus what you're at home, and uh, kind of the quirky nature of love, and how when you first meet a person or you crush on a person, or the awkwardness of getting together happens, and that's fine and lovely, but then you get to know each other and you get steadier with each other, and then you find out even more things about each other that might be really weird, in fact, like especially the relationship between Horimiya and Miyamura, in the sense that Horimiya liked a little like aggression towards her, and I thought that was hilarious how she liked being yelled at, and how strong she could be, and having the kind of strong, smart A+ student with the kind of slacker kid was kind of neat, and their friends were amazing, and it was also a very, very diverse cast, intentionally so. You're um, Alejandro Saab as Miyamura. You have Marissa Duran as Horimiya, and Zeno Robinson, and Aneris Quinones, and Celeste Perez, and I mean Kiba Walker, myself, Emmy Lowe. Just we wanted this show especially to be a very diverse, inclusive show be representative of the BIPOC community that's um, watching this show, and of course pointing out the fact that these voices exist with these characters and these people because they went to school too, and we all went to school. You know, it's not just white kids went to high school. We went to school with you. You know, we were there, and it was great getting that show and then being able to show and prove that the talent is talent and it will shine through no matter what your background is. You will get that element of your life and your personality. It will be communicated through the character. And if you care and you understand the material, you'll create something wonderful.
Yeah, no show I really enjoyed, I really loved. Again, it's these type of stories that are real. Either people can relate to it, or these definitely did happen in someone's life, and it's just another form to illustrate it on what certain people are going through, especially in Miyamura, where it did tackle male loneliness in school, where he's an outcast, where he is not really known by people, or they don't really give him the time of day to get to know him or let him be part of their inner circle. So there's a kind of struggle like between man versus society, or man versus I guess themselves, because it takes growth, it takes repetition to get themselves out of that mentality that they are no better than anyone else, that they are stuck in the state of mind where they're gonna be forever for the rest of their lives. So it was an experience as an audience member, just trying to root for him, trying to see him pull himself out, and then seeing all these people that they become his friends all together pull him out of that mental state, and then know that he is not alone, that there are people that would extend their hands and that would like welcome him into their lives. So it's those special moments that really captivate the audience, that also pull their heartstrings because they can relate themselves, or they see themselves as these other characters helping someone else out in their fragile state of minds. So I'm glad Horimiya exists. I'm glad that it told a great story, and as well as getting all these great actors like Marissa Duran, as you mentioned, Sadis Perez, Angelita Chantel.
Angelita, yeah. Belshaber, Johnny Young Bosch was in it. Chris Ramirez too.
Yeah, and I like to call the first three girls the three musketeers of anime.
Yes. Yeah, they're a lot of fun together.
Yeah, especially when you put both in the same animes, they bring the best work. So yeah, great actors, very diverse. Also, can't forget about Bill Butts. I love that man.
Oh, Bill Butts is the dad. As Hori is great. I love Bill Butts. He's very funny, and he's got a very great vocal quality. That deep kind of baritone bass thing he's got going on for all his, for all his deliveries, which is wonderful. And he made a great dad.
Oh, he did. That voice itself, the way Bill speaks, I just love it. Like, he just makes you laugh, makes you smile every time you hear his voice. The first word comes out of his mouth, you know you're gonna get a good performance, and you're gonna have a good laugh because Bill's just a funny guy. Just naturally funny. So
I like him and Alejandro and Emily Fajardo together. They were a very funny crew.
Oh, they sure, and especially off anime when when Bill and Alejandro are streaming together on the Twitch channels.
Yeah, they're goofy kids. I love them.
Oh, they are. They just tell the best jokes and they just razz each other. I just love it. So yeah, great cast and very special time that came out earlier this year. So yeah, I hope to keep getting more stories like this, keep telling these deep, profound stories that really talk about how people are feeling these days, that there's loneliness and loneliness can be overcome that people can't pull themselves out from it. When you find some good people around you, they'll be there to help you out.
Absolutely.
All right. Since we can just keep on going, just commenting or Mia. Now here's no one that I can also go along with. And this one is still running during this time. This is recording each episode per week. And this one is how a hero rebuilt a kingdom. Why don't you tell us about that one?
Oh yeah, the isekai, how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom. So that's my first full director, as the head director show through Funimation. I was contracted out for that. It's a twist on the isekai storytelling, in the sense that normally when you have somebody pulled into an RPG or a fantasy world, they're imbued with these powers and they become these warriors, and they serve the purpose of becoming like that, that land's hero or that game's hero. And this one's similar in the sense that, yes, he does become the hero, but he's pulled in because the kingdom of Elfrieden is in financial disarray, and they need to be able to send money, to support a war effort. And rather than getting a hero to give to the war effort, they get a guy who's like basically an accountant. Yes, he's a smart guy. He knows about finances. He knows about basic political maneuvering. He knows about economics and basic science, and he brings that knowledge from our world into this fantasy world, and is able to kind of like restructure the levels of the kingdom, manage the wars and strife that exist internally, and also other kingdoms coming after him. It's also a bit of they haven't really touched on this much, but it's also a bit of a harem show. There are many beautiful female characters in the show that are drawn to him. He is immediately engaged to the princess of the country he falls into, and the throne is abdicated to him, and he becomes the king. And now he has his, princess fiance, but all the other women that are around him, they talk about polyamory and how it's very accepted within the country. And so he imagines what it's like to be married to so many women, or this other stuff, and that part of it really hasn't come up yet, but it's coming. But the show is really charming. If you want to learn about road building, if you want to learn about tidal waves, you want to learn about thinning of forests, if you want to learn about animal control, he has an answer for almost everything. And the show is really unique in that it's almost like reading Rainbow or like Mr. Rogers, in the sense that like all this stuff is happening, this story is being told, but then it takes these long breaks to explain the logistics of what's happening and like why they're doing it and how they can manage this certain political maneuvering or this certain war movement, or why thinning the forest will prevent landslides, or how do we solve a food shortage within a country. And it's I tell my wife about this all the time, but like, and she watches it with me and she really likes the show, but she's like, the show's concept still, surprises her, and how well it works, and how entertaining it is. And I think part of that, of course, I think it's well written, but I also think that the actors that jump on board with it really throw themselves into it and kind of own those moments. And once again, Alejandro Saab is my lead in this, and I think he makes a great Somakaze. I think his kind of like I don't know, natural delivery, sarcasm that he kind of just generally has in his voice when he speaks and stuff really helps. And this is just a side story. Soma's super smart and says a lot of really big words. Well, Alejandro, his English is his second language. He is not a native English speaker. You wouldn't know it to talk to him, but yeah, he's learned it really well and he can deliver the language very well. But you'll occasionally run into words and like, What are you having me say? Shawn, I'm an idiot. I didn't do well in school. What are you doing to me? I don't know these words. What does this mean? And he gets all upset about it. But it's fun. And man, we have long sessions with him because obviously that character just talks all the time. And I have a lot of his crew in there that people kind of all live with each other near and around the LA area. Damon Mills, Howard Wong, and uh who else is out there? Bill Butts has made an appearance in this as well. And we've had Anaris in there also. But on our side, we've had Jim Ferranda and Morgan Leray, and Emmy Lowe is in it as well. And yeah, it's a big show with lots of Kellen Goff from over there is in there as well. Anjali Kunapanene is in it. I believe I'm saying that right. But just yeah, it's another. I don't think I try to keep it in the front of my mind when I'm casting to keep the idea of inclusivity and equity in my casting, but I also want to make sure that everyone has an equal shot at what they're going for. And I think there's a great balance in this show too, as far as how that was done in the casting. And yeah, I just think it's a fun show. Really, really fun show. It's such the concept, like it seems so outlandish, but it somehow works, which is what I love.
I myself enjoy isekai shows. There are so many different stories, so many directions that these shows take, especially this one here. I found this one to be more educational.
Exactly.
With this with his fun moments, with some small little comedy aspects, some small little action here. They're just very minute, but when you take it in, you start to appreciate why this show, the premise of the show, like why it's happening, like what's the point. I really enjoy this in the anime's fans' perspective because of its political nature, its way of running a country or kingdom, what have you. And I know there's a lot of young people out there that are not into politics, or when they have an anime, is like, what's politics doing in my anime? But when you put that aside, you start to see the importance that a kingdom is not easy. There's a lot of work, a lot of responsibilities. There's so much that goes into it that when you start to see the character of Soma, why he's doing this, you start to think, oh, okay, like this is all important. Like food is important. You start to appreciate that clothing is important, money is important, having a functional mentor is important. Nothing is free, so you see why all this work comes into play, and then you start to see like, okay, maybe where I live in whatever country, whatever city I live in, I'd rather be here than be there, because there's more work to be done there. So I appreciate this anime for illustrating that, for taking on this educational tour on how things can be done in the political realm or in the government realm. Because
and I think people are really interested in that, like more than you would think, right? Because I get a lot of messages about how much people appreciate that show, and it's already had a second season announced, and it's like January, so it's really close. So I was surprised. Normally seasons are announced and it's still like a year out before you get more material. And the studio announced that they're going to put out stuff in January. So I'm like, whoa, I guess we're going to start doing this again.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that too, because I just want to like learn more from this show. I want to learn more like what else does not so much a king, but either you call a despot or a leader or the head honcho. What do they have to do to run a country, run a kingdom, run whatever there might be? Like there's so much small things that make a big importance at the end.
Plus, there's
So
the overarching story that's never even been touched on, except for in like the first episode, which is the Demon Lord's domain attacking the whole continent and the Grand Chaos Empire being the one to fight them off. Well, while that's happening in the background, that never ever gets touched on, all this stuff is happening in Elfrieden, way far away from all of that, and they haven't even gotten to that part yet. They're not in this season. It'll be later. So I think that also is why I'm happy there's an announcement for a second season, because I'm like, there's such a big part of that story that's barely even touched, and I'm excited to get on to the next part of it.
yeah, and if we're gonna talk about like story structure, then of course, from chapter 1, this kingdom is not ready to take on the Demon Lord because they have too much of a mess going on at their end that there's no way if they cannot take care of what's going on at the home field, they're not going to have a chance going up against the enemy front if they decide to go that direction. So I'm appreciating the pacing, the build up towards that, which hopefully they might be explained in season 2. If not, maybe just maybe season 3 might be able to get us to that point. But
there's enough material, so hopefully they take their time.
Yeah, and again, these are all building blocks put together, so you gotta make sure they take their time and not just go from 1, 2, 3, 4 and go from 4 to 10 or 10 to 20. So
yeah, I hope they don't do that. I know that a lot of anime, especially if they're not sure if they're going to have another season, tend to make those large jumps. They'll go make years jumps in advance and not even really explain why they did it. And I feel watching this one and directing this one, they've taken a lot of care and time with the story that they have right now and have not skipped or jumped around anywhere. And it makes me happy because they have confidence and faith in it and have announced that second season, which means they're wanting to continue on that story path and make sure it's still fresh in people's mind as they tell it.
I agree with that statement. Just all studios, and not just anime, but like any medium, to just take their time, just do the build up, just go step by step, take us, the audience, to a nice, gentle tour ride. Don't turn into a roller coaster, because that's the worst thing they can do. So yeah, I love the realist hero. It just has so much good, like I said, material and good build up. So by the end of this season, and then hopefully by January or so, we'll see how the beginning of season 2 will take us. So I'm just excited of the story in itself.
Me too.
All right. Now it's time for a funny question. I like to ask everyone: if you can live in any world of anime that you have worked on, which world and why?
Which world and why? It's a good question. One Piece. I think One Piece would be an interesting world to live in. I like the ocean. There's always great food. I love food. Maybe I can eat a devil fruit and get awesome powers and enjoy life on the sea as a pirate. I don't know. That'd be a fun one. I think and it's such a long story. Maybe I'll be a part of it the whole way.
Okay, that's a good one. And that's perfectly explained. Like, oh, you got some good points right there.
I mean, everyone wants, I'd love to be super powered up like Goku. I'd love to be as cool as Spike Spiegel, but I think that like One Piece and like being a pirate and having kind of investing in that lifestyle and kind of the adventuring and then the kind of comedy that it has and I just think that their food setup, like whenever they have your anime spread of food, I always think theirs looks so amazing. Yeah, I think it'd be a nice the pirate's life for me.
Yeah, and I will toast to you if I had a bottle of Captain Morgan nearby.
I'll settle for some topo.
All right. And so as we're in the winter season, is there anything else come out that you can't talk about or anything you want to plug in at this time?
On the anime side, no, there's nothing I can plug. One, everything I've done is too recent, so I can't really announce that they're not out yet. But Tales of Luminaria, the video game, just came out. I'm in that, and that's been going around on mobile platforms, and I think it's very popular. The Tales of series of games is a very popular video game line. So go out, download it, enjoy that. I'm in Dallas Theater Center's A Christmas Carol. I'm playing Jacob Marley. So I'm back on the stage. Chris Ramirez is actually in a change of roles. He's my assistant director in that one. He's the one directing me and telling me what to do. So we're getting to hang out a little bit there too. And anime fans will maybe recognize a couple other people in it. Lee George is in it. And Molly Cersei is in it. So, some of the Funimation crew is running around doing live theater also.
Christmas Carol, and just in time for the holidays.
Oh man, not just in time, and that's all I'll be doing because they have me performing all the time, all the way through December 26th.
Hey, I wish I could be there to see that performance.
Yeah, man, it'll be a fun one. It is a very intense and big, fun show. The kind of stage effects and magic that they do on stage for the show is going to be great. I saw a version of this at the Dallas Theater Center a few years back where Brandon Potter played Ebenezer Scrooge, and he was excellent in it, and I had a really good time, and I'm glad to be a part of the show now.
Another name you just mentioned there. I would love to see him as Ebenezer Scrooge. I can just only imagine it in my head.
It was great. It was a great one.
Well, I'm glad that you're in a theater play like that one, and yeah, hopefully anyone that's out there watching this interview, since it'll be out before Christmas, if there's still tickets available, still seats, check them out. Check out all these amazing, talented actors for a classical theater play like A Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
you can't go wrong with that one. All right, and now as we wind up to our last question, why don't you tell us, is there any Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or any other social media for fans to contact you at?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, under Ready Kafka, ReadyKafka. That's where I do most of my posting from and announcements of work. I'm on TikTok, but mainly just to watch people.
Thank you.
You can also find out all my information if you want to check out what I've done or what I've got upcoming, or any of my demos, or message me through my website. You can go to shawngann.art, and you'll be able to hit me up there.
So yeah, hopefully everyone will check you out there. I thank you for your time, Shawn, for making this interview happen.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah, that we can type out all these amazing shows you got to work on, both in and behind the booth. So yeah, I just can't wait to see what 2022 will have in store for you, and that's up for A Real This Hero for season 2,
Yes.
English dub.
Yes, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to say a thank you to our viewers here for tuning in for this episode of the Ohio Guys. Thank you, everybody, and I will be seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.